Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, make sure to hit the notification button to get the latest on my videos, which I will be uploading once a week. A special warning for today's story. Today's story includes references to violence, murder, torture, and other painful events, and that could be a subject of disturbance. The crime story I would be talking about today took place in Oman. It was almost, you may say, 3 years ago, approximately, in 2019. The incidents in the story occurred before Eid al-Adha. For the ones who don't know what Eid al-Adha is, it is a holy month which is celebrated by Muslims all over the world. Let me tell you what happened in the story from the beginning so that you know how the sequence of events go throughout the story. In 2017, the cops of Oman arrested a huge drug dealer. Now, he was one of the famous drug dealers in Oman, and he had a huge reputation in his field and in drug trafficking. The police referred him, drug dealer, to the public prosecutor's office, where he, after huge interrogation, confessed that he was involved in drug dealing. I would like to give you a small idea about the personality of the prosecutor here. Our prosecutor was a faithful and loyal person. He had a resolute personality. A personality we would say that he was passionate about his work and about his country. After further interrogation, the drug dealer confessed, and all the evidence actually were against him and confirmed that he was involved in illegal trade. After the investigation was completed, the brother of the drug dealer paid a visit to the prosecutor and asked him right away that how much amount or sum of money would take for the prosecutor to change or make simple changes in the report. Now we know that these simple changes which could be made in a report can stop the brother to be sentenced to, we would say, life imprisonment or death. Now, he offered millions. He said, you name it, that's it. The prosecutor here replied that he would just go for a while and come back. Well, he went for a while and he came back with huge security forces, and guess what? The brother was sent to prison. A quick review, we know that the drug dealer was sentenced to prison and his second brother was sentenced to prison for bribery. Now, people like them, they forget that you cannot buy everyone with money. And for some people, there is no legacy as rich as honesty. We wish we could have people like the prosecutor in each and every country. We just wish. Now, as we know, the drug dealers are no ordinary people. They are involved in drug trafficking, and they have the gangs which are one of the most dangerous gangs in drug dealing. There's nothing called a family or love. Life and death for them is like a normal phase which comes and goes and doesn't cause any problem in their lives. They consider actually money to be their lifeline. Crime groups like these, as I said before, are also involved in drug trafficking and are typically also involved in a range of criminal activities. So action against drug dealers can simultaneously impact money laundering and illicit finance. Getting back to our story. Now, after days and weeks, the gang here, was observing and keeping a watch on the prosecutor for 2 years. For 2 years, they were trying to finding a moment where they could take a revenge. Revenge, of course, for both the brothers being in the prison. The person here who had kept in mind that he has to take revenge was the third brother of the first two who were in prison. Well, the man here, named Hanif, he was from Pakistan. As you know, that he was the brother of the drug dealer and the one who went to bribe the prosecutor. Hanif disguised himself as a worker in a car industry. The prosecutor here was living with his wife and his 3 children in a very well-populated area. It was peaceful and there was high security, I would say, and proper surveillance. It was impossible for these gangsters to actually attack or take revenge in such area. Now, after 2 years, they watched him carefully until they got a chance. So what happened? How could they have taken this revenge? Well, later the prosecutor shifted to a new government house in a new area. It was actually a new, we would say, an emerging and developing area. There were hardly any houses, few houses. As I said, because it's a new area, there was not that kind of security that was needed, especially for this prosecutor. He had experience. He knew that for him, it would be dangerous to live in such an area. So he actually called the officials and said that I don't think I'm safe here. Me personally with my children, I'm not safe here. So they said, yes, you're right. You're completely right about this part. And we would be providing you a house, but you have to wait for 2 weeks holidays, which are during the Eid period. And after the Eid period, immediately we would provide you with the house. He was very thankful and he knew that he had to wait. Now the prosecutor had to wait to move to a more peaceful area. The situation, I said, was dangerous for him. Now let me tell you who were the people involved in the gang who were about to commit this crime. The part of the gang was the first Pakistani, who was Hanif, and then he called 2 more Pakistanis from Pakistan for a company visa. Then we have an Indian national who was actually called out from India for helping them. Now you would be wondering, why would he get a whole complete gang to take revenge? In the case of drug dealers, there's not just one person involved, of course. There are people who distribute, who sell, one who keeps watch, and there are other actually involved in the group. There's not just one person. So he got these people to actually help him in taking revenge. I will go back to the prosecutor and his life. Now this person, he was a pious person. He was God-fearing and he owned a charity shop. A charity shop in most Muslim countries is, I would say there's something called waqf. Let me say you what is waqf. I'll give you an idea. Waqf could be a shop, it could be a building, it could be something which would help the people around them. Now, the money coming out of this place from waqf, the money doesn't goes to the person. It actually is for charity. It's for free. So he kept his shop as a charity shop where he would sell, where he would give away, that is, dates, food supplies, clothing, and other things which people actually needed. And there were lots of people actually getting help from him. The person looking after the shop was his own son. He used to stay there and help the person in need till he could finish his job. There was a home decor shop just next to theirs, and as it is a home decor shop, it had wallpapers, wall decors, and other things. Now the 3 Pakistanis and the Indians decided to involve the Bangladeshis which were working in this shop. There was just one reason they could have hired them. They hired them by paying them some amount of money, and the cause was for actually, again, disguise themselves as workers. The only role of the Bangladeshis, the 3 Bangladeshis, was to make them enter the house. Their only aim right now was to enter the house, and that's it. So they started actually by going to the boy and asking him that, are you new here? Do you have a house? Do you need some work done? Because we know it's a new area and of course you'll be needing anyone. The boy actually replied that I am just young enough, but my father knows well. So if you would like to ask him, that would be better. Well, later they went to his father and they took the brochure and the wallpapers, whatever they could show him, just to make him attract and just to make the situation a bit appealing, that he could just agree to what they're saying. Well, to do that, they also gave him huge offers and discounts, which also made him think that, yeah, I would be needing them. They then asked the prosecutor that we would come to take measurements. Maybe they would have agreed on some kind of work. So they said, when do we come for measurements? And then he said, well, I'll be coming to pick my son later, and you can come at the same time. Now, when they entered the house, the situation here maybe would be that the prosecutor would think that why would all these people enter the house? But as you know, they belong to a company, they have a specific shop, and this is how these people disguise themselves, showing that we are workers and nothing else. After taking the prosecutor into their confidence, the three Bangladeshis left the house and closed the doors behind them. Later, the two Indians started beating him badly until he lost his consciousness. Later, he slaughtered him. They slaughtered him in front of his three children and his wife. And later, they also killed the children and the mother after tying them up. They dispatched the whole family with violence and slaughtered them. Before they could leave, a neighbor, which was a boy, visited them and was knocking at the door. The boy was very used to visiting this family because he used to enjoy playing video games with boys. As he was standing knocking at the door, and he was lucky enough that these people didn't open the door or took him in. They were paid visit by another family member who was the sister of the wife of the prosecutor. She too started knocking the door. Well, no one answered, so she asked the boy to leave as it was raining, and she herself left. Well, the aunt here, who was the sister of the wife of the prosecutor, went back to her home, and she informed her mother there was no one answering at the door. They also called them, but no one answered. There was the same situation going on. The mother here had a feeling, and she said, you know what? Someone has to go and pay them a visit again. So he called her son, and she said, dear, just go and make sure your sister is okay and fine. The son could have left, but it was late. So he said, I think they would be busy or sleeping or out somewhere. So why don't I go early in the morning and see if they're okay and make sure that they're fine? Well, the mother agreed to this, and she said, okay, oh well, you can go tomorrow. Of course, the next day, the boy visited his sister's house, and he was knocking, but there was no one answering. And he went back to his mother saying that no one is answering. They would have been busy or out somewhere or sleeping maybe. She said, well, I would like you to go again because I have this feeling. We say the mother's feeling here. The boy actually answered, I would go, Mom, but he had a trip. He had to go to Muscat. So he said, as soon as you return, I will return. I will go and I will see if she's fine. He came back as promised, and he went to his sister's house, taking a young family member with him. After he returned, he took one of his family members, a young boy, and they started knocking at doors, even looking through the windows if they were inside. When the young boy went near the window, he sniffed a strange smell. It was a strange, distinctive and strong smell. He could smell it, and he then started peeking carefully through the window, and he saw blood on the floor. As soon as he saw the blood, he started screaming and calling for his uncle here. Well, he came and he actually saw the blood trails and a body of his sister, the wife of the prosecutor, lying on the ground. It was all covered with blood, and what he could see the head separated from the body. He confronted the security forces, and they entered to see this disaster. Of course, they saw that the whole family, the whole family of the prosecutor was killed. Well, after the security forces, the forensics department also arrived to take the fingerprints of the criminals. After taking the fingerprints, they couldn't identify all the criminals. Why? As I said you before, some of these criminals actually arrived days before the crime had taken place. Means they came on a visit card which doesn't involve any fingerprints. Here they could identify Hanif from his fingerprints, and who was working in a car and industry, as I said before. He was actually the original leader of the entire operation. He was the one who has set up the whole crime, and the idea of the revenge and the whole surveillance of this family was planned by him. Now, after they found the fingerprints of Hanif, they arrested all the Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. They arrested these criminals for getting involved in this crime. The person here, the Indian, escaped to India. Now they reached for the Indian authorities and there was a strong cooperation between them. But this person managed to escape. There was actually a fire exchange between the security personnel and this criminal, but the only thing they could find was that he was a huge drug dealer in India. Now, after he had been accused and they were waiting for this man to be found, he actually escaped through the mountains and they couldn't find him. After investigations, the trial was done. The trial and the moment the family members of the prosecutor and his wife were waiting for. By retribution, these people will learn a lesson. Now, I find it odd that how could a person so honest and loyal, who actually helped the poor, continuously providing them food, clothes, and whatever they needed, to end up in such a way. May God have mercy on him and his family. May God reward him for his good deeds, patriotic attitude towards his country. I wish the authorities in Oman will speed up the sentencing of these criminals. The lesson from today's story was that an honest person can be trusted in every circumstances. This gives him strength to face world in difficult times. This man, who was the prosecutor, became a role model because he considered honesty to be his greatest virtue that he could hold. Now, there are things I want the listeners to keep in mind. While I'm describing events of story and covering the related occurrence, the countries and the nationalities I refer to are not involved. There are a couple of people only. Every country has people with different character, good and bad. I would call them in easy words. People with positive qualities and characteristics, or people with bad character traits, who could be dishonest, unmerciful, obnoxious, or wicked. Why these people become criminals is somewhat complex. Why they break laws and become offenders can be caused by circumstances. When a criminal commits crime, there are reasons, there are psychological reasons. Now, please remember, these cover the minorities. The vast majority is filled with people with good intentions, happy with what they have, and busy in their day-to-day routine. They have nothing to do whatsoever with these who are legitimately evil beings. I would like to end the story with a quote. Honesty is often very hard. The truth is often painful, but the freedom it can bring is worth the trying. I would like to thank Mr. Abu Talal Hamrani for giving the permission to translate his stories. Well, his stories, his YouTube channel is given below in the description box. Thank you for listening and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.